Now that we've got our layout set up, we'll need to add fortunes. We will store our fortunes in something called a list. Let's go into the Java file for our fortune activity. Now before we get started, I want to make this look a little simpler. This part of the code, I'm going to get rid of this part of the code because it deals with the options menu, and this app is not going to use the options menu. So just so it looks a little cleaner, I'm going to select that and hit delete. Make sure you don't accidentally delete this last bracket though. And we want to and have to leave this onCreate method. Remember, anything on the onCreate method gets executed or ran every time the app loads for the first time. I'm going to make a little room here. We need to create a list to hold our fortunes. So up here, I'm going to define the variable name for our list. The reason I'm creating it up here between where we declare our class and the onCreate method is because if I create it here, I can actually see it and use it wherever we are in this activity. The special name for this is called a member variable. You can define a list like this. Type list. Make sure it has a capital L. Now, we need to tell the computer what kind of thing is going to be in this list. Now, our fortunes are basically words or strings of words. And in Android and Java, we call that data type strings. So our list is going to contain strings. So in these greater than and less than signs or triangular brackets, whatever you want to call them, we'll write string. Now, we just make up a name for our list. And in this case, I think it makes sense to call our list fortunes. Now, to close this off, we'll need to add a semicolon. Okay, great. Our list is defined. Next, in our onCreate method, we need to initialize our list. Since we've already made a name for our list, we can type fortunes equals new array list. And at the end, we'll put a semicolon. So we've defined it here, we've initialized it here in the onCreate, and now we can add stuff to it. Adding stuff to lists is really easy. We'll just type fortunes dot add, and within the parentheses here, we can add our fortunes. Let's try and add our first fortune. I just looked up on Google funny fortune cookies, and I found this site that has them nicely listed here. So let's use this first one. A closed mouth gathers no feet. I'm going to copy this, go back to Android Studio, and paste it in here. We can already see that Android Studio is having some issues with this. The reason why is we haven't used quotation marks. And anytime we have a string, we need to use quotation marks to tell Android that it's indeed a string and not some variable. Right now it thinks that this is a variable that we haven't defined yet. So let's go ahead and put our quotations. Now we still have this little red squiggly line at the end, and usually that means we need to add a semicolon. Okay, great. Now we've added our first fortune. Let's go add a couple more. Fortunes.add, parentheses, and I'm just going to add the quotations now because we'll need to add our string within those quotations. And I can go ahead and add a semicolon at the end. Since this is the basic form we'll use to add all our fortunes, I can actually just copy this and paste it a few more times. Okay, now I have room to add a total of 8 fortunes. Let's go back to our website and copy and paste the fortunes into our list. All right, now I've got all my fortunes into the list.